We going? Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order for the Planning Advisory Committee meeting held October 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. I have a motion to to open the meeting, and I'll take a mover and a seconder.
I move.
Moved by member Paquette.
Second.
Second by member Roblinski.
Right on.
That the Planning Advisory Committee meeting be opened at 6 p.m. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes for the regular meeting on May 2nd, 2023. So I will take a mover and a seconder. Moved by, it's only the two of you, so I can just go back and forth unless either of you object to that. Moved by member Roblinski, seconded by member Paquette, that the minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee meeting held May 12th, 2023 be adopted as circulated. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Okay. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we will move into presentations from the public. And I have a notice that I have to read this really big piece of paper. So it's a posted notice for an application for consent. One, an application for consent has been submitted under subsection 53(1) of the Planning Act for A, B5 2023 Blue Sea Road, B, B6 2023 South Shore Road, and C, B7 2023 Sunnyside Road. 2, the land which is subject to the application is not the subject of an application under the Act for an OP zoning bylaw, minister zoning order amendment, or a minor variance. 3, notice of this meeting regarding these applications have been provided to all required agencies and neighboring properties. 4, if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Township of Bonnfield in respect to the proposed consent, you must make a written request to the clerk of the Township of Bonnfield at 365 Highway 531, Bonnfield, Ontario, P0H 1E0, or sign the request form, which is located up by the form if you're here in person. If a person or a public body that files an appeal of the decision for the Township of Bonnfield in respect to the proposed consent does not make a written submission to the Township of Bonnfield before it gives or refuses to give a provisional consent, the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. 6, additional information about these applications for consent has been available to the public for inspection at the municipal office at 365 Highway 531, Bonnfield, Ontario during regular office hours, subject to the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection and Privacy Act. 7, if there is anyone in attendance at the meeting today regarding any application, as we introduce the file, please raise your hand, state your name and address and which file you would like to discuss. You will be given an opportunity to share your opinion. So we will move into consent applications. So B5 2023, Cascanet, 1 new lot on Blue Sea Road. So I will just put it on the table for consideration. So we'll need to move it in a second. Going to be a second. So the motion reads that the Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council the consent application B5 2023 Daniel Cascanet for consent to create 1 new lot, concession 5, lot 11, Blue Sea Road, be approved for the following with the following conditions. 1, that this approval applies to the transfer as applied for, which shows 1 new lot on part of lot 11, concession 5, part lot 11 RP 36R 7063, part 1, parcel 26790 NIP. 2, that the following documents be provided. A, an original executed transfer deed, a duplicate original and 1 photocopy for our records. B, a copy of the survey plan deposited in the land titles office if required. C, an electronic copy of the survey emailed to planning@bonnfieldtownship.com. D, a schedule describing the severed parcel attached to the transfer for approval purposes. 3, if there is a forced road situation, a 20-meter road allowance or whatever amount is required for road purposes shall be transferred to the municipality at the owner's expense across the whole lot or parcel for which the severance was taken and compensation shall be awarded as per the compensation grid for the transfer of forced roads. 4, that the building setbacks for all buildings must meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw for the retained and or severed lots, whichever are affected at the time of survey. 5, a fee of 5% in lieu of parkland dedication for each transfer document shall be deposited in the office of the clerk prior to the stamping of any transfer document regarding a subdivision or consent for each new lot. For the purpose of determining the amount of payment, the pay grid to determine payment of up to 5% in lieu of land to be conveyed to the park or other recreational purposes shall apply. 6, if any, all tax arrears must be paid prior to the stamping of the transfer documents for a new lot. 7, the applicant commit when registering the transfer that the note on title shall state the severed parcel is for an active aggregate operation for all future use and sale purposes to ensure that there's no negative impact and there is a protection to the primary aggregate designation. Of note, a certificate of approval as required under Ontario Regulation 33212 of the Ontario Building Code Act for a sewage disposal system must be obtained prior to development of the property, and a development interference with the wetlands and alteration to shorelines and watercourses permit may be required from the North Bay Manitoba Conservation Authority prior to undertaking any development of the property. It is recommended that prior to the development, the property owner consult with the MNRF regarding potential requirements under the Endangered Species Act. Please do not ask me to read that again. Yeah, well, yeah. So I don't know if there are any questions or comments, and I'll also look to our CAO to make some comments on the application.
Okay, I guess there is. Yeah, you do have a copy of the report that you did put together. So subject lands, the official plan designation is primary aggregate removal, and the zoning is mixed. A portion of the property is M3 for the aggregate and M2, which is still industrial, but they both properties do allow for the dwelling to be on the property. There's only a dwelling on the property proposed for severance, or a dwelling on it. So. And they are permitted uses under section 3.3 of our zoning bylaw, which states one dwelling unit for use by the owner or operator shall be permitted with a private water supply and sewage system. It states a number of parameters, but all the conditions are met in the severed parcel on this application. However, the retained parcel based on the zoning of M3 would permit a residential dwelling unit in accordance with the same section 3.3. So the current aggregate pit does not have a dwelling on it. One could be put on it. You can see from the map that's here, much of this retained portion here is affected by the landfill site as well as other pits on either side. So they would have to do a review should somebody want to put a house on that property. Or at the time when they come, you can, another way to deal with it is to amend the zoning of the retained lot to not permit a residential development on the property. There are other residential lots adjacent to the property, all lots created prior to 1990 and creating the first municipal documents that we have. We did send it for the standard agencies and boards and neighbor landowners for any comments or reports. So there is a report from the applicant from their agent Tulloch Geomatics that is attached and has given us a full planning justification on how this meets official plan and zoning. The North Bay Manitoba Conservation Authority has no concerns. Hydro One did not submit any comments. The ministry submitted that it is outside of their control, so they have, or their control area, so they have no comments. And the public, we did have one objection. There were no comments from Public Works. All the entrances have already been approved on the property. And then there were no comments from the fire department. So the objection from the public just stated that he wasn't, they were not in favor of the zoning of the severed parcel to remain M2. But there are multiple occasions on when properties are severed but not rezoned. So we're not looking at what the use of the properties are as opposed to, does it meet official plan and zoning for the current uses that do exist, and it does.
Okay, questions or comments from the committee at all?
I'm good with them. I'm good with the fact that it remains M2. It's been that way for a long time and the residential place on there, on the pit itself. They could put a building in there as well, right?
It's
According to this, yes. Oh, no, I'm fine with it.
Great. Seeing no other, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to B6 2023 Benoit, 2 new lots, South Shore Road. Moved by member Robinski, seconded by member Paquette, that the planning advisory committee recommends to council that consent application B6 2023 Gary and Nicole Benoit, creation of 2 new lots, South Shore Road, be approved with the following conditions. 1, that this approval applies to the transfer as applied for, which shows 2 new lots on part of lot 4, concession 5, part 2 of RP 36 12680. 2, that the following documents be provided: A, an original executed transfer deed, a duplicate original, and a photocopy for our records. B, a copy of the survey plan deposited in the land titles office if required. C, an electronic copy of the survey emailed to planning@bonfieldtownship.com. And D, a schedule describing the severed parcel attached to the transfer for approval purposes. 3, if there is a forced road situation, a 20-meter road allowance or whatever amount is required for road purposes shall be transferred to the municipality and at the owner's expense across the whole lot or parcel for which the severance was taken, and compensation shall be awarded as per the compensation grid for the transfer of forced roads. 4, that the building setbacks for all buildings must meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw for the retained and or severed lots, whichever are affected at the time of the survey. 5, a fee of 5% in lieu of parkland dedication for each transfer document shall be deposited in the office of the clerk prior to the stamping of any transfer document regarding a subdivision or consent for each new lot, for the purposes of determining the amount of payment. The pay grid to determine payment of up to 5% in lieu of the land be conveyed for park and other recreational purposes shall apply. 6, if any, all tax arrears must be paid prior to the stamping of the transfer documents for the new lot. Of note, a certificate of approval as required under Ontario Regulation 33212 of the Ontario Building Code Act for a sewage disposal system must be obtained prior to the development of property, and a development interference with wetlands and alteration to shorelines and wet courses permit may be required from the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority prior to undertaking any development of the property. It is recommended that prior to development, the property owner consult with the MNRF regarding potential requirements under the Endangered Species Act. CEO Kunkel, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Again, the report's in front of you, but the subject land right now is official plan designation is rural and zoning is rural as well. The road is a natural severance and there have been no severances prior to 1990 affecting this property. There was a concern of the hazard in the environmental areas, and I think I emailed that to everybody, but the applicant's agent prepared a report and it confirmed that both of the proposed lots would have sufficient land and building envelope in order to have a single family dwelling on the proposed parcel. So they meet all of the requirements for the zoning bylaw. We did send out notices to the agencies and the neighboring landowners as required. North Bay Mattawa Conservation has no concerns. Hydro One had no comments. The ministry, again, it's outside of their jurisdiction and they have no concerns. The public I've not received any comments, and there are no concerns regarding the entrance for either the property from the Public Works or the fire department. Do you recommend that? If you
Okay, thank you. I know we have some guests in relation to anything. Any comments? Are you guys? No. No. Okay. Questions or comments? All in favor? Okay.
Thank you very much.
No problem. You're probably gonna want to leave because I have to read another one of those. Yeah. You're not hurting our feelings if you read now, yeah.
Well, you know I have now. Welcome to Bonneville.
Thanks, guys. I still guilty if we make people sit through stuff that's included, especially when it's that long.
Somebody will complain about them.
Okay, so moving on to C, so 5C, which is P7 2023 for Vincent, which is 3 new lots on Sunnyside Road, removal of lapsed consent. Moved by member, I forget where we were, member Lafette, seconded by member Roblinski. That the Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that consent application B7 2023 Jeffrey and Jamie Vincent create 3 new lots Sunnyside Road be approved with the following conditions. 1, that this approval applies to the transfer as applied for which shows 3 new lots on part of lot 6 concession 8 and part of 6 concession 7 part 1 of RP 36 5947 in the township of Bonfield. No. 2, that the following documents be provided. A, an original executed transfer or deed, a duplicate original and a 1 photocopy for our records. B, a copy of the survey plan deposited in the land titles office if required. C, an electronic copy of the survey emailed to planning@bonfieldtownship.com. D, a schedule describing the severed parcel attached to the transfer for approval purposes. 3, if there is a 4th road situation, a 20-meter road allowance or whichever amount is required for road purposes shall be transferred to the municipality at the owner's expense across the whole lot or part of which the severance was taken, and compensation shall be awarded as per the compensation grid for the transfer of forced roads. 4, that the building setbacks, all buildings must meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw for the retained and or severed lots, whichever are affected at the time of the survey. 5, a fee of 5% in lieu of the parkland dedication for each transfer document shall be deposited in the office of the clerk prior to the stamping of the transfer document regarding a subdivision or a consent for each new lot. For the purpose of determining the amount of payment, the pay grid to determine payment of up to 5% in lieu of land be conveyed for park or other recreational purposes shall apply. 6, if any, all tax arrears must be paid prior to the stamping of the transfer documents for a new lot. 7, that a restriction under section 118 of the Land Titles Act be entered into the parcel register for the whole of the retained parcel in part of lot 6 concession 8 parcel 651 NIP and part of lot 6 concession 7 part 1 of plan 36R 5947 parcel 25784 NIP in the township of Bonfield to read as follows. No transfer of land shall be made or change or charge create unless the consent of the council of the township of Bonfield is obtained. The consent of the council of the township of Bonfield is not required in instances where the transfer or change consents to the continuum of the restriction. The owner shall satisfy this condition by providing the township of Bonfield with an undertaking from the person registering the documents, committing to the register the restriction once the transfer has been registered. Note, a certificate of approval as required under Ontario Regulation 33212 of the Ontario Building Code Act for the sewage disposal system must be obtained prior to the development of the property. So, Uncle, anything to add?
So as we said at the onset of this is a consent application that was passed in September 2021. It lapsed because the transfer documents were not done, so it's just an exact replica of that application, and the survey is still the same one. They haven't gone up for new one. So the official plan and zoning is rural. There's no concerns with the application. There's none of the policies have changed since September of 2021, so there's no concerns there. We did recirculate to the agencies, and there were no comments received, no comments from the public either. So it is a recommendation to approve it with that proposed condition. And I do believe I've emailed everyone about that proposed. It was on the previous approval, and we weren't exactly sure why that was there, but it is because on the survey. The retained parcel, the road is a natural severance between the next property, but it does actually go below what the road severance was, so those two sections of the retained. Have to be sold together, so this ensures that that will happen, so no property will get landlocked.
Excellent. I did notice that the motion spilled onto a second page, so there is just a second note, which I'll add on, which is a development. Interference with wetlands and alteration to shorelines and watercourses permit may be required from the North Meadow Conservation Authority. Prior to undertaking any development of the property, it is recommended that prior to development of the property, consult with the MNRF regarding potential requirements under the Endangered Species Act. Questions or comments from the committee?
Yeah. We do have a question.
Excellent.
I'm just wondering about that condition. That after the land was transferred, then it's to be registered on the retained portion. And what they're saying is that, you can't transfer without the consent of the municipality. So on where the road is there a lot on the other side of the road? Yeah, so that's probably why. That portion couldn't just be transferred out.
So condition number 7, this is the road, the travel road. So there's this parcel that is part of the retained, and there's this that is part of the retained. So the condition is that these two this cannot be sold without this, and this cannot be sold without that.
Without consent, like they say.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Otherwise, they could, right, they would
Yeah.
landlock this property.
Right.
The other option is if the owners wanted to, they could just do the process to merge them on title, and then that would negate the condition, but they're not merged at this point, so it's in there, so that.
That's two separate pins then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why it makes sense.
Okay, well. That seems fair because they've already got 3,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
They would like us to remove that condition, but it was there for a reason,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't think we could put ourselves in a position to landlock that piece of property.
I did speak to the applicants, and I did explain why that condition is in, and I did that today, and they seemed okay. They were fine with it, saying now we understand why it was there.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And they could go through the process kind of like the play, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All in favor? Carried.
There. I did forget to mention at the first, the consent for Casanet. There was a condition that was put on that resolution as well. I just want to explain that one of the concerns was removing a parcel from an aggregate pit or an aggregate. The PPS and artificial plan protects aggregate pits. And so when removing the land, and that becomes a new sensitive land use with a house on it, then, or it could with the house on it. We didn't want there to be any third-party future owner of that property to say that, I don't want the pit behind. So we're making sure that it's in policy that we're still protecting the aggregate use. No, under the PPS. So that's why that condition was on.
Okay.
And the agent and the applicant were fine.
Okay, so under other business, before we move on, I will just take this opportunity under other business to let the committee know, if you don't already, some might. Anne has accepted a position with the planning department, so pretty excited to have you part of this team.
Yeah.
I think it's been really great moving forward. Appreciate the knowledge and expertise you're going to bring into this role, and I think it's going to be fantastic for the municipality. So congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
So unfinished business, draft official plan and comprehensive zoning bylaw received for review. So we've received it.
I have spoke. to
I'm like, I'm not
Jay.
sure if there's more words to say to that or not, but it kind of summed it up.
So our action plan going forward, where that you've received it, I believe everybody got it by email, anybody can let me know if they want a paper copy of it. And then I spoke to J.L. Richards, so if we go through it, if there's any questions, or if they've not picked up anything, and Ann and I'll go through. The past document, noting the comments that were made to make sure that they were transferred to the new document. And then we'll ask any of those, but if we could have a meeting in November to wrap up those. The comments that the committee may have for it, and then we can get J.L. Richards to work on that. And then they can send it into the ministry hopefully by the end of the year.
And are you asking the committee to, I mean, probably twofold, one, take our independent look at it, add our own comments, can we do that as a team before J.L. Richards as well?
Yes.
So
I
that
would
would
like
be,
that.
yeah, so would I. I mean, this is as big of a deal as it gets for the planning advisory committee, so this is our Super Bowl, so we want to make sure that we're doing it right for the municipality, 'cause it's gonna set the pace, so exciting time to join the team.
Fire to fire.
Yeah, right, yeah. So,
That opportunity for sure.
yeah, so then our next meeting would be early-ish November. We will take the opportunity to have our review individually and then bring our notes and have a more collaborative conversation in that meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if everybody is
But we're not reviewing at what the
not first.
committee. Okay,
Yeah, we'll just do the committee and then we'll bring in Joe Richard.
perfect.
So if we can look to schedule the week of November 6th.
I would say no to that. That's
Okay.
hunting week.
This is October to December, it's kind of hard.
The 13th is what?
13th will be our holiday, so, and the 14th is council, so we're looking at,
15th, 16th, 17th.
November,
I'm not here those days.
Okay.
So now we're going into this week.
Well, we blew past early November somehow.
Yes, we did.
Okay. What about the, does it have to be after the 5th?
Well, it depends, how much time do you need to review?
Well, everyone's gonna take a first initial read at it, and then the whole purpose of that meeting is to actually kind of go through and.
Okay.
So. if-
First, we're having a meeting, however, right, to see, track all the changes.
Yeah, we still have to go through that.
So we have 3 meetings this week in the evenings.
Yeah.
Then we have public works the week after.
Oh, you're,
So I think we're looking at the 20th.
oh, you were looking for sympathy there. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
So we have to get together.
Okay, so what you're asking is the week of the 20th
Okay.
20th of November.
of November.
Okay.
So we could, on the 20th?
That will work, or the 22nd, if you want to keep it as a Wednesday,
You're here then.
I'm here then.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'll defer to the committee members. Would you prefer the 20th or the 22nd? Monday or Wednesday?
You can finish hunting.
Yeah, I'm just away from 6 to 10.
Monday.
If you're any good, you'll be back by the 7th.
Oh, no, I'm not coming back.
Have to keep hunting,
Yeah, yeah.
So,
If you want to keep it Mondays, the 20th.
Monday's great. Monday the 20th
20th,
Sure.
at 6 p.m.
You have to fill it in on the resolution too.
Can I request a paper copy, hard copy of it?
I think we all prefer.
Yeah, like I've been reading all this over on my phone and it's just nice to have paper copies, right?
Right, you know, it's okay. So can you come in? I can copy it tomorrow.
Sure, I can drop by at some point
Okay.
and pick it up.
I'll have it ready starting tomorrow morning.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask for one as well.
You gotta tag it and maybe on it.
Right, that's the only reason.
Yes.
I may as well.
Don't want to be left out, eh?
The other ones will probably too.
I would imagine. So
So I'll copy them all and just email everyone and say when they're ready.
excellent.
Well, you need.
What am I adding into?
The date of the next meeting. So
Oh, there
Resolution
it is, yeah.
says.
Okay,
you
so.
get,
I guess we're at the adjournment. So moved by member Winsky, seconded by member Paquette, that the planning advisory committee meeting be adjourned at 6:30 PM to meet again at 6 PM on November 20th, 2023. All in favor? Carry. There we are.
Now we can go home and eat.
Yep.
Sorry, my children are losing pounds by the end.
Warren, Police Services Board. Thursday night is our emergency meeting again.
20th, council. The Wednesday